The darkness of space loomed like a swarm of locusts, weapons thirsty for human blood. Zorak sneered at the primitive metal hulks hanging uselessly in the void ahead. Soon Earth would be his slave planet. It was 2200, and a century had passed since Earth built its first warp drives and stumbled into a galaxy ruled by predators. The Grelorians viewed humans as cattle, expendable pests to be crushed under a reptilian boot. Ethan Carter stood ramrod straight on the bridge of the USS Guardian, a heavy cruiser tasked with patrolling the fringes of the Sol system. At 35, the human naval officer had seen his share of battles against pirates and raiders, but this was different. An entire Grelorian battle fleet was bearing down on humanity's home world, hell-bent on conquest and subjugation. The survival of the entire human race hinged on the actions Carter and his crew took in the next few minutes. Success meant freedom, failure meant chains. As the enemy warships grew larger on the view screen, Carter narrowed his eyes. The Grelorians thought Earth's fleet was a joke, a collection of rickety antiques. They had no idea what humans were truly capable of or the nasty surprise Earth had in store for them. Carter smiled grimly as his finger hovered over the weapons control. It was time to show these scaly bastards what primitive really meant. Zorak's eyes widened as he watched the battle unfold on the view screen. The human ships moved with a speed and agility that defied belief, easily evading the Grelorian weapons' fire. Their energy beams sliced through Grelorian shields like paper, causing explosions to blossom across the hulls of his warships. Impossible, Zorak hissed, his scaly fists clenching. How can their primitive technology be so advanced? On the bridge of the Guardian, Carter coordinated his fleet's movements with calm precision. Alpha Wing, execute feint maneuver Delta 5. Beta Wing, target the enemy's flanks with torpedo spread Gamma 2. The human ships darted and weaved, their movements perfectly synchronized. Grelorian vessels erupted into flames as human weapons found their marks. Zorak slammed his fist on the console. All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship. I want that ship destroyed. A barrage of Grelorian energy beams converged on the Guardian, but the ship's advanced shields absorbed the impacts without buckling. The Guardian's point defense lasers swiveled and fired, intercepting incoming missiles with unerring accuracy. Carter smiled as he watched the Grelorian assault fail. Their weapons can't touch us. Continue the attack. The Guardian's main cannon glowed with power before unleashing a devastating beam that speared straight through a Grelorian battleship, causing it to explode in a blinding flash. As the battle raged on, it became increasingly clear that the Grelorians were outmatched. Their ships were being torn apart by human weapons, while their own attacks proved ineffective against human defenses. A transmission from Earth's High Command appeared on the Guardian's view screen. Captain Carter, reinforcements are en route. The ships you're fighting alongside are just the tip of the spear. We've been hiding our true strength from the galaxy, but now it's time to show the Grelorians what humanity is really capable of. Carter nodded, his eyes gleaming with determination. Understood, Command. We'll hold the line until the cavalry arrives on the Grelorian flagship. Zorak's eyes widened in shock as sensor readings showed a massive fleet of human warships dropping out of FTL on the edge of the battlefield. These ships were even larger and more heavily armed than the ones he was currently facing. Realizing that defeat was imminent, Zorak made a desperate gamble. All ships, charge the human lines. We'll take as many of them with us as we can. The remnants of the Grelorian fleet surged forward, weapons blazing in a final defiant assault. But the human ships stood their ground, their shields absorbing the onslaught as their own weapons continued to pick off Grelorian vessels one by one. As the Grelorian ships charged forward in a last desperate attack, the fabric of space itself seemed to tear open. A massive wormhole, its edges crackling with energy, yawned wide near the battle site. Zorak's eyes widened as he saw what emerged from its swirling depths: a fleet of gargantuan human warships, dwarfing both the Grelorian vessels and the human ships already engaged in battle. These behemoths were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, their hulls gleaming with advanced alloys and bristling with weapons that made the Guardian's armaments look like toys. "Sir, we're being hailed by the lead ship of the new fleet," the comms officer reported, his voice trembling with awe. They identify themselves as the USS Prometheus, flagship of Earth's Titan fleet. Carter felt a surge of pride and relief as he watched the titanic human vessels wade into the fray. their weapons already spitting death at the Grelorian ships. He had heard whispers of the Titan fleet but never dreamed he would see it in action. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Admiral Marcus Graves stood tall, his grizzled features set in a mask of determination. He had waited decades for this moment, to reveal the true might of humanity to the galaxy. "All ships, engage the enemy," Graves commanded, his voice booming across the fleet's comms. "Show them what happens when they dare threaten Earth." The Titan fleet tore into the Grelorians like wolves among sheep. Streams of searing energy and volleys of antimatter missiles ripped through the enemy ships, shredding their hulls and sending them spinning away in flames. The Grelorian weapons, so devastating against the Guardian and her escorts, splashed harmlessly against the Titan fleet's advanced shields. Zorak watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled by the human reinforcements. His grand plans for conquest lay in ruins, shattered by a foe he had so badly underestimated. "Helmsman, get us out of here," Zorak barked, desperation creeping into his voice. "We must retreat and regroup." But before the Grelorian flagship could flee, a targeted electromagnetic pulse from the Prometheus washed over the vessel, shorting out its systems and leaving it dead in space. "Admiral Graves, the enemy flagship is disabled," Carter reported over the comms, a grin spreading across his face. "I suggest we send over a boarding party to capture their commander." "Agreed," Captain Carter Graves replied, his voice filled with grim satisfaction. "Let's end this." As human boarding craft filled with power-armored Marines wielding advanced weapons streaked towards the crippled Grelorian flagship, Zorak rallied his bridge crew for a final stand. The boarding action was short but brutal, the human Marines cutting through the Grelorian defenses like a plasma torch through paper. Carter led the charge, his armor's augmented strength and speed making him an unstoppable force. On the bridge, Zorak and his guards put up a fierce resistance, but they were no match for the human boarders. Carter crashed through the bridge doors, his armor shrugging off the guards' weapons fire, and engaged Zorak in hand-to-hand combat. The two leaders clashed in a whirlwind of blows, Zorak's reptilian strength pitted against Carter's power-augmented armor. But in the end, there could be only one victor. Carter smashed his armored fist into Zorak's jaw, sending the Grelorian commander crashing to the deck, unconscious. "Admiral Graves, this is Carter," the human captain reported, standing over Zorak's prone form. "The Grelorian commander is in custody. I think it's time we had a little chat with our friend here about unconditional surrender." As the human fleet secured the battlefield and began mopping up the remaining Grelorian forces, it was clear that a new era had dawned for the galaxy. Earth, once dismissed as a primitive backwater, had just announced its arrival as a major power in the most dramatic fashion possible. The Grelorians, and indeed the entire galactic community, would never underestimate humanity again. The battle was over, but the work had just begun. As the Grelorian ships drifted through space, their hulls shattered and their crews in disarray, Admiral Graves turned to Ethan Carter. "Captain, we need to get those survivors off those ships. They may have been our enemies, but we're not going to let them die out here." Carter nodded. "Aye, sir. I'll coordinate with the Titan fleet to launch rescue shuttles. We'll bring them aboard our ships, provide medical care for the wounded, and ensure they're treated with respect." The Admiral clasped Carter on the shoulder. "You're a good man, Ethan. This is how we show the galaxy what humanity stands for." As the rescue operation swung into action, news of the battle spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Galactic News Network broadcast the story on every inhabited world, and the images of the mighty Titan fleet decimating the Grelorians sent shockwaves through the alien races. On the planet Xiria, Ambassador Trollocs of the Xiran Confederation watched the broadcast with a mix of awe and trepidation. He turned to his aide, his brow furrowed. "Get me a line to Earth immediately. We need to establish formal diplomatic relations with the humans. A race with that kind of power could be a valuable ally or a formidable enemy." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as the alien races scrambled to reassess their views on humanity. Some, like the Xirians, sought to forge alliances, while others, like the ruthless Kagan Empire, began to plot and scheme, seeing Earth as a threat to their own ambitions. Back on Earth, Ethan Carter found himself hailed as a hero. In a ceremony attended by Earth's leaders and broadcast across the planet, Admiral Graves pinned a medal on Carter's chest and announced his promotion to captain. "Ethan Carter, for your bravery, skill, and leadership in the face of overwhelming odds, I hereby promote you to the rank of captain and place you in command of the USS Dauntless, our newest and most advanced deep space exploration vessel." As the crowd cheered, Carter felt a sense of pride and purpose well up inside him. He knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter for humanity, one in which they would take their rightful place among the stars. In the days that followed, Admiral Graves worked tirelessly with Earth's political leaders to chart a course for the future. They established a new department, the Earth Galactic Affairs Council, tasked with managing humanity's relationships with alien races and representing Earth's interests on the galactic stage. Meanwhile, in a secure holding facility on Earth, Zorak sat in his cell, his mind reeling from the events of the past few days. He had expected the humans to be ruthless, to torture him for information and make him pay for his actions. Instead, they had treated him with a level of compassion and respect that he had never experienced before. As he interacted with his human captors, Zorak began to see them in a new light. He saw their ingenuity, their determination, and their unwavering commitment to their ideals. Slowly but surely, his perceptions began to shift. One day, when a human intelligence officer came to question him, Zorak surprised both of them by offering to cooperate. He shared information about the Gralorian Empire's military capabilities, their political structure, and their plans for galactic domination. He also warned of other threats, races that the humans had not yet encountered but who posed a danger to Earth's interests. As Earth's influence continued to grow and its technology advanced at a breathtaking pace, Captain Ethan Carter and the crew of the Dauntless prepared for their first mission. They would be venturing into uncharted space, seeking out new allies and potential threats, and blazing a trail for humanity's future. Standing on the bridge of his new ship, Carter looked out at the stars and felt a sense of destiny calling to him. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that humanity would face them head-on, united and stronger than ever before. The Dauntless glided through the inky void, its hull illuminated by the distant stars. Captain Ethan Carter stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the view screen. Uncharted space stretched out before them, a vast expanse of unknowns. The crew worked at their stations, monitoring sensors and analyzing data. "Captain, I'm picking up an unusual energy signature," the science officer said. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Carter turned. Put it on screen. The view screen flickered, and an image appeared. A massive structure hung in space, its surface covered in intricate patterns and glowing with an eerie light. "What the hell is that?" Carter asked. "Unknown, sir," the officer replied, "but it's emitting some kind of subspace signal. It's trying to communicate with us." Carter felt a chill run down his spine. He had a feeling they were about to make first contact with something ancient and powerful. As the Dauntless approached the structure, a hologram shimmered to life on the bridge. It coalesced into the form of a tall, slender being with luminous eyes and skin that seemed to shift and change like liquid metal. "Greetings, humans," the being said, its voice resonating through the air. "We are the progenitors. We have watched your species with great interest." Carter stepped forward. "I'm Captain Ethan Carter of the USS Dauntless. What do you want with us?" The progenitor tilted its head. "We wish to offer you a gift, our technology, our knowledge. All of it could be yours. You have shown great potential, and we believe that with our guidance, you could become one of the most powerful races in the galaxy." Carter frowned. Something about this felt off. "And what would you want in return?" The progenitor's eyes glinted. "Simply that you sever your ties with the galactic community and submit to our guidance. We would become your mentors, your protectors. You would be our loyal servants." Carter's jaw clenched. "I don't think so. We didn't fight our way to the stars just to become someone else's pawns." The progenitor's expression hardened. "You would be wise to accept our offer, human. The alternative is far less pleasant." With that, the hologram vanished, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Carter turned to his crew. "Get me a line to Earth. We need to warn them about this." As the Dauntless sped back towards human space, Carter couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled into something far bigger than they had ever imagined. Back on Earth, the news of the progenitor's offer sent shockwaves through the government. Emergency meetings were called and heated debates erupted in the halls of power. Admiral Graves slammed his fist on the table. "We can't trust these progenitors. This is a trap, plain and simple," but others were not so sure. "Their technology could solve so many of our problems," one politician argued. We'd be fools to turn it down. As the arguments raged on, Carter dug deeper into the progenitor's history. What he found chilled him to the bone. Every race that had ever accepted the progenitor's gift had ended up as little more than slaves, their cultures erased and their people broken. And then came the final piece of the puzzle. Zorak, the Grolorian commander they had captured, had escaped from his cell. As Carter reviewed the security footage, he saw Zorak's eyes flash with the same eerie light as the progenitor hologram. Carter's heart sank. Zorak had been a progenitor agent all along, manipulating them, pushing them towards this moment. In a final desperate plea, Carter addressed the Earth Galactic Affairs Council. He laid out the evidence, the truth about the progenitors and their intentions, and in the end he made his stance clear. "We cannot accept this offer," Carter said, his voice ringing with conviction. "To do so would be to lose everything that makes us human: our free will, our right to choose our own path. We must stand together and face whatever challenges lie ahead, but we must do so as free people, not as slaves to some ancient race with their own agenda." In the end, the council voted to reject the progenitor's offer. There was no going back now. Earth had made an enemy of the most powerful race in the galaxy. As Carter stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, staring out at the stars, he knew that dark times lay ahead. But he also knew that humanity would face them head-on, united and unbowed. They had come too far to turn back now. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the fight for humanity's freedom and survival had only just begun.